My name is Hakim Mishriki, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to handle anxiety in a classroom or in an online classroom. Now, since the pandemic, all of us were hit by the fact that we need to start teaching online. Students as well had been struck by the fact that they have to listen to the presentations or attend their classes online, of course, from the comfort of their homes, but we all, of course, miss the face-to-face interaction. Now, before talking about how to handle anxiety, let's first see or talk about what is anxiety, because it's actually a broad term that can be defined in different ways. So according to the WebMed, anxiety is a kind of a mental illness, the results of which are either feeling overwhelmed, feeling constant fear, and third, continuously having this kind of worry that we carry out throughout our presence in the online class or wherever. So three things that are outcomes or of anxiety: feeling overwhelmed, feeling constant fear, and feeling worried. How many of you have joined or have been into an exam and they had sweaty hands? They had their cold hands feeling cold, sticky, and they felt completely blocked. Well, all these anxiety disorders can be a great hinder to people trying to learn and their learning ability. For instance, you may find a student that is a very good student, was a very good student in face-to-face, but failing actually to contribute in the classroom, or maybe failing to give his final presentation. Even after preparation, he feels a blockage during his final presentation. Not to mention that, as I can see here, you are attending an online session and no one has opened his camera. No one is there. Well, this is a form of anxiety. I don't want to appear. I want to be hidden behind my computer. So how do we deal with this kind of anxiety? How did I do it dealing with anxiety? Well, the first tip that I would give to everyone is show your audience that you understand. Tell them that you have the same challenge that they have. Tell them that this is not the typical way that you were intending to teach. So showing understanding, showing that you're with them in this, is the first step to gain their trust in you as an instructor and in themselves as attendees of the instructor. Also, that they didn't show them that you understand what they're going through during the lecture, what they're going through even outside the lecture. Part of this understanding or showing understanding is sometimes making fun of yourself, making fun of mistakes that you make. For example, I'll tell you a very small incident. I had, unfortunately, my mic unmuted during a midterm exam, and I was yelling at my young kid, and they heard it all. Well, I made fun of this, and it made the environment less pervasive, less hostile to the students. So that's number one. Number two, continuous motivation. So if you do not motivate the students, so for example, when most of the students attend with their webcams closed and their mic muted, so I give them a kind of motivation, like, let's start with who has the best virtual background among us all. So let's start, who will do a virtual background? Maybe it got me 3-4 students in the beginning. Then I told them, what about we do a virtual background competition and we do a voting, and whoever wins is gonna get a bonus percentage, or he's gonna get a gift. So give them always motivation. Not only motivation to appear, but also motivation to contribute in the classroom. So encourage them to answer the question. ask them to participate, and don't tell them that you're fearing or they should fear anything. Encourage them to make mistakes and tell them that it's okay to make a mistake, because that's critical into getting them engaged and overcoming their fears. And when they do a mistake, please don't blame them, but be more permissive in them, for them. So for now, I have said two things. Show you understand what they do and show you understand the situation that they're at. Second thing, motivate them. Of course, your course design has to change, because if you keep your course design the same way it is face-to-face, well, it will put even more anxiety on the students. So that's why, for example, I changed my course, and things that I used to write down on the blackboard or things that I used to explain with my hand, I got myself now a new pencil or a new digital pen that I use to actually simulate how I write on the board. Things that are heavy equations, I had to modify them to make them a bit easier to understand. Assignments that were heavy assignments, I had to break them down into smaller ones. Projects, I had to break down big projects into small deliverables, because when they were big, students used to meet and interact, but now that they cannot meet except virtually, I broke the projects into smaller tasks. So instead of getting, for example, mid-year report and mid-semester report and end of the semester report, I broke them down into 4 deliverables. 2 deliverables instead of 1 big one, 2 small ones. These small steps will give them confidence in themselves that they can do it. Also, when you give these projects and assignments, well, be a little bit flexible. I'll tell you something that happened yesterday to me. I have a WhatsApp group with my students. In every course, it has a separate WhatsApp group. So the deadline to submit the project was yesterday, was today at 12 a.m. or at midnight. So students sent me on WhatsApp, "Doctor, can we extend the deadline to be tomorrow morning instead of midnight?" And then I understood that they will stay up all night long to do this project. So I told them, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna take a look at this project except on Friday morning, and my eye will not notice the date of submission." And it got them really enthusiastic. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much for this." So flexibility in the attendance, flexibility in the assignments deadlines, flexibility in maybe leaving the class and coming back, flexibility in allowing them open or close the camera is another thing. So far we have discussed 4 things, and I'm being aware of time. So far we have discussed understanding, motivation, changing your course design, and also being flexible in project. But being flexible leads us to something that we shouldn't be doing, which is letting them procrastinate or delay things. Do not let them delay. So do not let them delay submission of the projects. Do not let them, you can be flexible in adjusting the dates, but do not let them delay how they interact in class, or delay assignments so much, or delay studying. So always evaluate them, because if you let them delay the study, delay everything, they're gonna pile up material, and it will increase their anxiety in the online learning mode. The other thing, and the most important thing, is that you should be available for the students. You should be available all the time. And by meaning available, I mean that, yes, your life will be disrupted as a professor, but it will be a little bit tough for you to handle all of these, but you should be available at any point in time for the students. They're only feeling that you're reachable at any point in time makes them feel comfortable. If they have a question that they've missed during the class, it's easy for them to send you a WhatsApp. It's more difficult to send an email and wait for your reply. So even if they send you a WhatsApp and it's not an appropriate time, sending them, I will answer you tomorrow morning because I'm going to sleep, because I'm involved in something with my family, will assure them that you're there and they're gonna get their answer, instead of leaving them completely in the dark, not knowing how they can reach you. Open many channels with them. So open your WhatsApp for them, open your email, and for some of you who may prefer it, I do this. I open my phone to them. So sometimes they are allowed to call me, but I specify the timings because I respect also my family time. So some students, you cannot imagine how much it relieves them to feel that they can reach their doctors. They can hear his voice. They can have a Zoom meeting with him in the evening when they're okay to talk. It is a very, and I think it's one of the most important factors, that you are reachable. You're there to take their questions, to take their answers. Now, this is something I really advise you to do. And for this, I didn't make a presentation because I think it's better to discuss, is your students' online body language. For those students who open the camera, the more cameras are on, the more you will be able to notice their body language. So for example, in front of me, I have only Maha, and Maha is the only one that is appearing with her camera. Now, when I said her name, immediately something very important happened. I've studied body language and I focus and I know how to read the faces and the eyes and so on. So I recommend you to read a very important book that I intend to write down in the chat here. It's called The Definitive Book of Body Language. So I'm going to write down here for those, The Definitive Book of Body Language, which is a critical book on how you can read people's body language. And you can look at the eyes, you can look at the body movement, and you may notice if they're not interested or not. It made a huge difference, for example, with my students when I went on and towards the end of the class, there were 20 minutes remaining. And I noticed that they're tired. I noticed, and the content was really heavy. So what I said, hey guys, what about we stop at this point and we listen to some music? I teach business simulation, which is a very complex topic to be taught. So what I've done is, for the first 10 classes that I taught, I allowed them 5 minutes called de-stressing from the simulation. In these 5 minutes, they're allowed to curse. They're allowed to say whatever they want to say